Hi everybody, welcome to The Limit Breakdown, where we review everything in TV show, movie, and entertainment. I'm your host, Sid.
And I'm Migs.
And today we're going to be reviewing The Last of Us Episode 2. So stick around after our intro for our deep dive review of the next episode.
Welcome back to The Limit Breakdown. And we're going to be jumping right into our deep dive review of The Last of Us Episode 2. What were your thoughts, Sid? Let's get right to it.
So, I am so far enjoying the show. Let me start off by saying it is a very compelling show. Very, it brings you in, right? The whole time it's gripping. The tension they build, the action sequence, everything. It's very, very gripping. I love it. The one thing that I think is amazing overall is Ellie's banter. Every serious scene, they have a serious scene, and she's like, what about this? So, for example, when they go to, this is the first thing that popped in my head, when they go to the hotel and she sees the water, she's like, oh, hotel, what about, and he's like, how do you know what this is? Because if you think about it, they don't have hotels in that world anymore because it's all post-apocalyptic. And he's like, what do you know? How do you know what this is? And she's like, they have books. And then she's like, well, I can't swim because, there's no pools in the DM. And then there was another quip that he had about it. He's like, well, don't you know about this? And she's like, yeah, it's a shitty school, though. Her quips are so good. I love that fact. The characters of Joel and Tess, you can see why they said that their skills were or what they're capable of doing. Every moment they go, they're on top. They're answering some of her questions. And Tess is now finally starting to believe that what Ellie said about her being immune is real, because that's the main thing. And this whole episode basically them coming to grips with them thinking if Ellie is telling the truth or not. Is she really going to turn or not? Yeah. And I think that was an overall theme. And the way they portrayed it, I think, was fantastic. Side point, I didn't know this until Linda started watching. Tess is actually the main character from a series called Fringe. Yes. I don't know if you saw. I've never seen Fringe, so I didn't know. And it was apparently a really popular show. That's the main character. Okay. So if somebody recognized her, that's where she's from. Okay. What were your initial thoughts?
As an avid gamer and player of The Last of Us, like, I continue to be number one impressed by how well it's translating to TV. But it's like, for years, one of my main complaints with video game adaptations has been, just follow the game. Just like, it's laid out for you. Yeah. But I love that they are using the game as a basis, but they're also filling in the gaps. Yeah. The way that they started the episode with the scene in Indonesia, yes, is something that they didn't mention in the game at all. Yeah. And it fills in a little bit as to how the fungus actually expanded and
correct, because in the game they just said, it started in Jakarta, Indonesia, and that's it. That was the whole thing. Yeah. So
so then they have this doctor that they're taking to inspect this body, and at first she notices right away. She's like, these are cordyceps. Why do you have them treated this way? And it shows you okay, this lady clearly knows what she's talking about. And then they're like, oh, this is from a human sample, and she's just like looking like confused. And then the moment that she starts to realize that it's happening, like
she takes the fungus out of the mouth.
Oh yeah, but when she made the little incision in the foot, and you see the fungal spread on the ankle, And then, yeah, like you said, she takes the cordyceps out of the mouth, and she sees that the fungus is still alive, even though the host is dead.
Yeah.
And she's just, like, freaked out.
Nope.
And then, of course, you know, they're asking her, like you know, what can we do to stop this? And then just...
She puts down the tea.
Yeah. Well, like, I thought it was very telling, too, how, like, she's sitting there listening to the guy, and, like, the cup she's holding, the cup is shaking. Like, you could see she's struggling to hold it together, and then he's like, you know, what can we do to stop this? And she's just like, bomb.
Yeah. Just bomb the whole place.
Like, when the scientists are telling you to kill everybody, like, that's...
Yeah.
like, that's a bad...
Yeah, and I think at that point, she also knew that she's going to have to go, too. Because she's like, take me home, because I want to be with my family, because she knows at this point, they're going to bomb the city, and she and her family are going to die.
Yeah.
So, very, very powerful. I did appreciate that they're filling in the gaps over there.
And then it also ties into what you're seeing in the city. So, like, before... playing through the game, you know, you go through all of these city landscapes, and it's all destroyed, and you think a lot of it might be just from like initial chaos or maybe from decay or whatever, but now it makes more sense. Like, the city's got bombed.
Yeah, like I was thinking about it. I was in the previous episode. I was like, it doesn't make sense why there's a giant skyscraper that's tilted over and leaning against it. There's no way that just people being zombies would make a building fall. Now it makes sense. It's a shockwave from the bombs making the buildings fall.
And one of the things that they said that made a lot of sense was that the bombing technique didn't work in a lot of places. But the reason there is a containment zone in Boston is because the bombing slowed down the spread enough for there to be a containment area. So I thought that was very interesting. I liked how they kind of one of the changes that they made, because they this was there's an after show for the show with Neil Druckmann and
the official podcast.
Yeah, the official podcast, right? And so one of the changes that they were talking about that they made was, in the game, the virus is spread through spores, and there's a lot of parts in the game where the characters are walking around with gas masks. They did away with the spore infection for this one.
Completely, or just for the few episodes right now?
No, completely. So now it spreads a little bit differently. But one of the changes that they made too is that basically the fungus is growing like an organism all under the city and all throughout. And so there was a part where he's like testing the vines and the root. Yeah. Because, you know, they're like, oh, you know, if you step on a live one, basically it can notify everywhere else. And that was paid off later in the episode when the one infected got killed, and then the spores went in, the fungus went into the ground, and then that whole horde got called over. So that it adds a whole new element to the infected that wasn't there before. And originally in that State House scene, it was actually Fedra that they went up against. So it was Fedra agents that went in and killed the Fireflies. Yeah. And Joel and Ellie had to get away from Fedra agents. They did it differently this way. This time they had it so that one of the Fireflies got infected and they basically killed each other. So that was an interesting change, but I think it was done more with the intent of highlighting the infected as being the primary threat right now. And I thought that was particularly interesting.
How about the scene where they enter the building and they see the dead body, and she's like, oh, that doesn't look like a normal attack, and she turns around and Joel goes, from here on out, we're silent. Not quiet, silent. Because...
Oh, dude. Oh. They nailed the clickers. They nailed them. Like, visually, the aesthetics, like...
The scene dropped. Like, you could tell, and I don't know if you noticed, if you go back, they actually turned the music down, too, so it's basically just a low hum of a bass when they're doing that, and it's so creepy, and I loved it. I was scared shitless, but I loved it.
Yeah, no, I was kind of worried how the clickers were gonna translate over onto the show, just because it's kind of a gimmicky thing, but man, it was absolutely terrifying, and I love that they used practical effects for the makeup for the clickers.
Yeah,
oh my god,
it looked really good, really good. That whole scene was. I think if I was in that scene, I would shit my pants. Which is funny because right after, after they get that confrontation, and then eventually they have to kill them. Literally second after, they're like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And Ellie's like, "Well, I didn't shit my pants, so that's a positive." Again, her banter is so good, so good.
I think my favorite line was when. Early in the episode, they're first getting up and they're getting ready to leave the area because like they were keeping an eye on her while she slept in case she turned or whatever.
I know what you're about to say.
And so they're getting ready to leave, and she sees Joel with the rifle, and she's like, "Can I have a gun?" And both of them were like, "No, absolutely not." And she's just like, "Fine, I guess I'll just throw a sandwich at him or something." I'm just like,
oh man, it was I died. That was the funniest scene.
But I mean that's Ellie. That's Ellie from the game. Ellie constantly had those one-liners.
Yeah, it was. Bella Ramsey is doing a great job so far as playing Ellie.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I know people have harped on the fact that she doesn't look like the character from the game, but dude, she has the spirit.
Yeah, she has the spirit. I don't really care about exactly how they look. She has the character down pat.
Yeah,
I think so far she's doing a really good job. And the character doesn't have to be exactly look-alike as long as there's some features that are there.
Moving on to the latter part of the episode, obviously having played the game, I knew that we weren't going to have a lot of time with Tess, and I was interested to see how they were going to make her presence in the show meaningful, given that she wasn't going to have a lot of screen time. But I really, really liked what they did with her, and honestly, it's kind of twofold. On the one, I'm glad that they stuck with the narrative of the game. I thought her death was meaningful, and I thought that it's a good driving point to push the story forward. But man, had they figured out some way to keep her going for an extra episode or two, I wouldn't have been upset at all. Like the actress playing her has been doing a really, really good job.
Yeah, I agree.
Her interactions with Ellie were fantastic, and even certain points, the one scene where they were overlooking the building and they're showing her the short way, and you see the whole block full of infected, and then she's just like, you may be immune to bites, but you're not immune to being torn apart.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I agree. I think she's doing a great job, and like I said, so the theme of this episode was obviously, is it true that Ellie is going to turn? Because the whole time that's what they're focused on, and now that Tess has a different point of view, she's like, I think this is it. Like, this might be the ticket. So she's treating Ellie differently. She's showing her around. She's like, oh, this is this, this is this, this is this. Versus Joel is just like, I still don't care. I just want to take her there so I can get my truck to go save my brother. And because of that dynamic of Tess showing that she genuinely cares, I think her death was more impactful to Ellie.
Yeah.
Because even when Joel's like, all right, I know exactly what's about to happen. I'm gonna take you away. Yes, he's hurt, but he's like, I have to get a job to do. Yeah. Ellie was like, no, I want to stay. Like, she was trying to fight him back.
Yeah.
That I thought that was a very very emotional scene, very, very well scripted.
In the game, they never explicitly stated that Joel and Tess had a romantic relationship.
Correct. Yeah.
They were. I mean, I think
friends.
I always felt that it was like implied.
Yeah.
And they were a little bit more overt about it here in the show, but I loved that final scene with Tess where where it's revealed that she got bit, right? And he's explaining to Joel, he's like, look, I've never asked you for anything. I've never asked you to feel the way that I feel. I've never asked you, to do anything for me, but, do this one thing to help set all the messed up things that we've done right.
Yeah.
I think that was a very impactful moment in Joel's narrative to push him towards having a more permanent role with Ellie.
Yeah.
And she I have to talk. I don't necessarily like. I don't think it was meant for anybody to like it, but I had a little bit of a problem with the kiss. You know what I'm talking about?
Man. Oh yeah. So I know. So at the end where they run away and she starts spilling the oil over, starts throwing the grenades everywhere, and she's like, "All right, I'm gonna light this fire when they come in." And then one of the infected sees her and just goes.
I was just like,
why? And then she's just sitting there taking it. I'm like, I know that you're turning and your mind is already starting to turn.
Yeah.
Because I think what they said, when you get bit here of the head, it's like 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I know that she's starting to turn, but she could have easily been like, no.
Yeah,
but it was very awkward.
Yeah, it was a very like, that was unnecessary. It was really creepy. But I guess it was. I mean, like I said, I don't think they did it with the purpose of anyone liking it. But it was just like, oh, why did you do that? No, I could have lived without seeing that ever.
Yeah.
and then on a more cheesy note, the cliche of I can't get the lighter started.
Oh, yeah.
And then at the last possible second.
Yeah, I didn't think about. Is it me, or was that explosion not as big as I expected? With all those oil barrels and all those grenades, was that explosion not as big as you expected? To me, I was like, it seemed like a.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess
thought it'd be a little bit more, but I don't know.
I don't know. I mean,
I'm not an explosion expert. So.
Listen, we're very much accustomed to like the Christopher Nolan explosions. So in real world, I think explosions are a little bit more subdued. So
I suppose. But yeah.
But yeah, I'm. So far, they're sticking very much to the letter and spirit of the game.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see if the next episodes, if and when they're going to start to deviate. Because as much as I love the game, I would like for them to expand on it a little bit more, and I wouldn't mind for them to take a few risks and introduce some new things.
Yeah, definitely.
Or new characters, which I feel like they will. But so far it's been pretty carbon copy for the game, and I mean, again, the game is beloved for a reason. So
yeah, I agree. So far, great. I also agree that if they do variate, I think I wouldn't mind if they variated, and I would love to see how they do it. So
I'm mostly interested to see how much they're going to lean into like the creatures. How cause they did the clickers. They did the clickers really well, but you got like the bloaters and some of these bigger monsters. It's gonna be really cool to see. So
yeah. On that, thank you guys for watching.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe to the video. Check us out on all of our different podcast platforms on here on YouTube, on TikTok, all the other things. So we appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time with our next review.